What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the No Name Podcast. It's your boy, Young Rich. You already know what's going on. First and foremost, I want to say I appreciate everyone who watched the last video. I got 393 views, which is an all-time high, which is a step in the right direction of where I'm trying to go. So I appreciate everyone that watched that and was texting me and giving me input and has been checking in on me about how the podcast has been going. Before anything else, I got the hood on. Hair's looking a little crazy. I haven't got a haircut, so I'm trying to cover it up as best I can, look as professional as possible, because when I took it off, it was just crazy. And I think, looking at somebody while they're speaking and talking about all these different things is very important. So with that being said, I'm going to put a hood on. I'm trying to make myself look as professional as possible going forward. But again, Prize Picks has not been going well for the ones I do share to the videos. It has not been going great. The couple times I did share plays, they were big community plays, which means that a lot of people in the community were trying to use these exact plays, the right numbers. They just weren't falling. Prize Picks has been a little crazy lately. A lot of the community comes together and makes these different plays that everyone can agree on. Everyone sees why they should go through, but they haven't been lately. And that's just part of gambling, man. That's why they make as much money as they do. But with that being said, the two picks for today, it's got to be Anthony Edwards, rebounds and assists over 10.5. I mean, his last 5 games versus OKC, he's hit 4 out of 5, and he's hit 7 out of 10 in the last 10. In those 4 games, in those 5 games against OKC, the 4 times he did cover, he was at least 12 plus each time. So there definitely looks like a lot of room here to just be a sweat-free play. And the other play, Clint Capella going against the Cleveland Cavaliers, over 8.5 rebounds. Through the 21 and 23 seasons, 9 times he's played Cleveland. He's hit this prop 7 out of 9 times. 3 out of the last 4 he's played the Cavs recently. A lot of this really has to do with his prop being lower. He hasn't been getting in the game as much just due to his inability to really be a versatile defender. So when you start seeing teams that could spread the floor with their center and bring him out of the paint, he really loses a lot of importance. But this is getting into a situation where now you see Jaren Allen, Evan Mobley, 2 guys who are really, their job is to protect the paint and just be elite rim protectors. So he will be able to play a lot of minutes. His last 7 times he's played Cleveland, he's went over 31 minutes, which is a big crucial part that you want to see for Clint Capella. At this 8.5 prop, I mean, he's hit it over 70 times in his career. It is a very low number right now because, like I said, people have been taking advantage of them, bringing them to the corner, bringing their big who can shoot out to the corner, just have them sit up there, and it just eliminates the paint protection. So with that being said, he has to be out there. He's going to have to battle with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. So I do believe it's going to be a great play. He's going to get a lot of minutes, a lot of opportunities to get boards. We already know Spida and Darius Garland, they like to put up shots. This is a heavy 3-point shooting team. You have Strus, who's had his shooting struggles to start the year. So this is just a great opportunity to be at. The Las Vegas Raiders blow a 14-0 lead. I mean, this is just the most Raider-esque thing I've seen in a very long time. I mean, listen, we should have been up 17-0, all right. Daniel Carson missing that field goal to end the first quarter was not something you would like to see as a Raider fan. I mean, it's never something to see when you're playing Patrick Mahomes in this Kansas City team. We know his record on the road against his division opponents. He has only 1 loss, which happened just 3 to 4 weeks ago against Denver. All right, so we know how elite this team is and what Patrick Mahomes does to his division rivalry opponents. So with that being said, we've got to be on. We've got to take advantage of every opportunity possible. And, I mean, getting off to a 14-0 lead, Josh Jacobs breaking a 70-yard touchdown. These are all great things to see, and this is stuff that you need to see from your team. Devontae Adams getting going early. Aiden O'Connell, 189 yards in the first half. I mean, everything was clicking. In that first half total, but in that first quarter was really when he got a lot of his points, a lot of his yards. Jacoby Myers was getting going early. Hunter Renfrow was getting the ball. I mean, everyone was getting touches. It was just a great start the game. The first 15 minutes was us. We looked like a elite offense. I mean, for 15 minutes, we looked like this was the best offense that we've seen all season. And as a Raider fan, I couldn't have been happier. We were running the ball, which is exactly what Antonio Pierce and everybody else wants to see. Again, Aiden O'Connell was out here making plays. We weren't getting scared against this elite defense, right? This defense only allows 16.5 points per game, 176.6 yards allowed in a game, and we did all of that in half. So this shows the potential, the ceiling of the offense and what we can be with all the pieces we have. We just got to, play a full 60 minutes. But once Patrick Mahomes got going in the second quarter, it was very scary hours in Las Vegas. I mean, there's a couple plays I would like to go back to and call up a different play, still be aggressive, because I feel like after they started making some plays, Kansas City started getting some things going, and they first scored. It looked like we just put our foot off the gas and stopped being aggressive. I would have much rather go out there and go be aggressive and go play for this win like it's like we're playing for the Super Bowl, because this is just that caliber of team. Patrick Mahomes' success against division opponents is something you have to keep in the back of your head. You have to know what you're getting yourself into each and every week, and this was one of those situations where you have to go out there and play aggressive and do some things you don't certainly do. And I mean, a couple short down situations on third and fourth down in this game, we do decide to run the ball. I don't necessarily always agree with doing things like that, because it is 50-50. I'd much rather you go out there and just do an all-out quarterback sneak, tush-push like play. I do think that is the most effective thing. So when I see plays like that where we're running the ball straight into to Chris Jones, who, and nobody's picking him up, and things like that. I mean, there was one 4th and 1 where we did not get it late in the game, late in the fourth quarter, with about 8 minutes to go. We decide to just spread the field and run the ball. In a situation like that, you definitely just bring everybody in. Bring 2 tight ends, bring 3 tight ends, bring your fullback, and just let everybody know you're running the ball and go run the ball. No cute stuff. Just go out there, execute, and perform. And that just has a lot to show with young OC, young play calling. I mean, he was just thus in this position 4 weeks ago. We all understand he's in a tough position right now. But you do see some lack of experience in the play calling department. You do see a couple areas where it looks like we're playing conservative. We're trying to rely on our defense to make some plays. And for the second time all year, our defense has given up 30-plus points. And it just so happens to be with Patrick Mahomes and an offense that was struggling. I mean, I definitely didn't think we were going to give up 38 points, but I mean, we just weren't there. We were missing tackles. We were giving it up too many big plays. Not having Max Crosby at 100% is a crucial part of our defense, because I mean, he is that DPOY candidate. He does get his discussions about DPOY. Because of what he does in the field and his consistency, and the fact that he's always on the field and he's going to be there. Him not being 100%, not being a factor. You've seen Mahomes way too comfortable just moving around the pocket, doing whatever he possibly wanted, and was just picking us apart. And when you're playing someone like Patrick Mahomes, the key thing to beating Patrick Mahomes is not allowing him to beat Patrick Mahomes. The pass rush has got to be there. You've got to be able to get there, whether it's sending 4, blitzing everybody. You've got to make plays. And at the end of the day, we just didn't do enough to get this victory going forward. Are the Dallas Cowboys for real? I mean, I've heard a lot of talk going on these past couple weeks talking about Dak Prescott's play, his quarterback play. He's starting to get involved in this MVP discussion, MVP caliber. And I mean, it is well-deserved, don't get me wrong. You look at his numbers, you look at what he's done, it's phenomenal. He's put up phenomenal work. I mean, in the last 6 games alone, 331, 4 touchdowns, 181, 2 touchdowns, 404, 4 touchdowns, 374, 3 touchdowns, 272, 1 touchdowns, and in that 6-game span, 2 INTs, and only 2 losses, 1 loss since getting embarrassed by San Francisco on prime time. So he's had a great bounce back. This offense has finally looked like what it's supposed to look. But my biggest takeaway from this Dallas Cowboys team, the defense is always going to be there. We know that, right? You have, with Trayvon Diggs' absence, you have Stephon Gilmore, who's supposed to be an elite corner, who we've seen him be this defensive player of the year caliber corner before in his prime. He's starting to step up and make plays. You have Deron Bland. Shout out Deron Bland, Central Catholic alum, Fresno State alum. Went to school with him for a year, right? He probably doesn't remember who I was, but I went to school with him for a year, so that's kind of cool. Big shout out to Deron Bland, breaking the interception return for touchdown record in the NFL. He's playing phenomenal. I feel like every time this defense scores, it's because of him. He's out there making plays, and he's just being a great corner. You are going to see him a lot in the future. Obviously, being supposed to be a backup corner and getting pushed into that slot last year and making the most of it. I mean, that's the perfect definition of being ready for when your turn comes, and he was ready, and he's taking full advantage of that. But I mean, if you look at the teams that this Dallas Cowboys team has beaten, I mean, none of these teams are above 500. You've beaten the Giants twice. We already know the Giants are waiting for Caleb Williams. The Jets, who have the worst quarterback play of the entire year. The Washington Commanders, who, again, they're just not ready to win. They spent all this money on defensive picks to win, and they still haven't done it. They just shipped away Chase Young and Montez Sweat. They're not competing. Sam Howell, again, he's a hit or miss. He's got a strong arm, throws the ball a lot, but again, not a great quarterback. The Panthers, we already know what's going on over there. Head coach just got fired. OC just got fired. I mean, a lot of people are just getting fired left and right over there. It's not a great place to be. And then you have the Patriots, who, again, we already know. These guys are now getting discussions for Caleb Williams. And the Chargers, who are just a team who spent so much money on being great, and they are not capable of winning games at all or doing what is necessary to win. Does it have to do with Ryan Staley? Most likely, more than most. But with that being said, those are all their wins on the year, and every single one of those teams I just said are below 500. And then 4 out of 6 of those teams are bottom 7 defenses in the NFL in points allowed. So again, and I mean the Panthers, Chargers, Commanders, Giants are all bottom 4 defenses in the league. 28 through 32. So am I impressed by Dak Prescott going out there and torching an elite bottom tier defense? No. All right. Does it give you some sort of belief and votes for MVP? Sure, possibly. But we all know that me specifically, MVP should go to the player who is performing the best and also doing it on the biggest stage. Who do I have for MVP right now? I'm not quite sure. There's just Jalen Hurts is not putting up a statistical season to be MVP. Lamar Jackson could possibly be in that discussion with how good his team has been this year. Dak Prescott, again, definitely has the numbers. But again, all of these teams are bottom 7 defenses, and there's nothing impressing to wow you. I mean, yes, he's made great throws. He's made great plays. Don't get me wrong. You're starting to see Dak Prescott be the QB of what he's supposed to do. This is what he's been supposed to be, but it's just the level of competition he's doing it against. All right. Every good QB, every good team, you always know what they're made of when they play a good opponent. That's why we see Miami is not a Super Bowl contender, because every time they've played an elite team, a good team, a physical team, they get blown out and just knocked all over the place. All right. And again, the Cowboys are in that same sort of discussion. They played San Francisco, got absolutely blown out. We all know that. We've seen it. Brock Purdy was at the top of the MVP discussion during this time. All right. Obviously, a lot has changed since then. But I mean, we know how up and down this league has gotten. But the one thing that doesn't change is that if you are a contender, you are going to perform against good teams, and they have yet to do that. They competed against Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, who again have not looked amazing. They just keep putting together these ugly wins, and you picking on a secondary that everybody thinks is a bottom 4 secondary in the NFL. We know that. Everyone does it. Sam Howell went for 400 yards twice against those guys. Okay. But they still came out winning. And although they have not looked perfect over there, they have just found ways to put scrappy wins together. And again, it's just they're playing beautiful, winning football over there. Not one person is carrying the load of the offense, the defense. It's a well-rounded unit, and it's very San Francisco-like. And I'm not sure if Dallas could ever get over the hump. I've been consistent, and I've been an advocate of saying, for Dak Prescott to get any sort of respect, you've got to beat one of the good teams in the playoffs. In the fourth quarter when it matters, that's when you got to show up. That's when you got to perform. I mean, and Dak Prescott beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like last year, a team that barely made it in, they were below 500 and that's just not a win that wows me. Sure, there's a lot of people that said Dak Prescott finally played good against a playoff contending team, but they barely got in there. They just got in there because their division was so weak. And it's just interesting to see going forward, because there's a lot of things that has to play out. I mean, I would like nothing more than Dak Prescott going to postseason and just fold under pressure again. All right. Obviously, we know who the top 2 teams in the NFC are, and rightfully so. But this Cowboys team, Dak Prescott, they've got to do all this. They got to dominate like this on the biggest stage against the best team. I'm tired of seeing these guys go out here and play against terrible opponents, not very good defenses, not very good just organizations in general right now, and them being excited, saying their team is this and this and this. All right, I look for consistency and just winning against winning teams, and when you play a team like the Chiefs, you play a team like the Eagles, like the Niners, those are your opportunities to show you can actually contend with the best. All right, yes, Philly and Dallas was a little bit of a shootout, but again, they still did not get over the hump. And if they had to see Philadelphia in the playoffs again, I'm putting my money on Philly. All right, Philly is just putting together all these wins and just doing it the right way. They're not looking perfect. They're not looking spectacular. Jalen Hurts is not looking his best, but when you just continue to win games the right way and do these things and have a pass rush like they do, a deep 7-man pass rush, 8-man pass rush, it leads to winning football. Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars cement themselves atop of the AFC. 8-3. It was a must-win situation for them this past weekend against Houston. Houston obviously blew them out earlier in the season, so they did have the current tiebreaker, splitting it at 1-1 for the division title. Currently sitting alone in first place, 2 games above Houston here at 6-5. Houston at 6-5. Jacksonville at 8-3. Trevor Lawrence, you've heard a lot of criticism to him about his play and about him just squeaking by in these wins, and a lot of it has to be with the talent he's surrounded by. But he definitely answered the bell. We've heard a lot of talk about C.J. Stroud being this MVP caliber QB, who he still is. All right, C.J. Stroud playing phenomenal football this year. But Trevor Lawrence responded. He went out here 23 for 36, 364 yards and a touchdown, had 1 INT, 1 little slip up, but I think everything is going to be okay. And I don't know if a lot of people really respect this Jacksonville offense as much as I do, but I sure do. I believe 100% in Trevor Lawrence to go do what he's got to do, and we are seeing it a lot just like last year. At the end of the season, right when they needed to, they got hot and they kept that momentum and they just put it forward going into the postseason and got themselves their first playoff victory in a very, very long time. Okay, and now you start to see the beginning of what that could possibly turn into. This is now the first week. Trevor Lawrence has now looked good, not great, good. All right, he's out there, played phenomenal, had got a good win, had the lead majority of this game. All right, and now you got to be feeling good going into this next 6-week stretch. It's going to be a tough 6-week stretch, but you got to be feeling good as a Jacksonville Jaguars fan going forward. Calvin Ridley finally starts to get involved again, 89 yards and a touchdown. This is one dude that I definitely thought was going to be a huge piece of this offense going forward. And I know this passing attack has not been as great as everyone would have thought with that likes of Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. But I do think there's a lot of room to grow in Calvin Ridley. Maybe it's just him being off for a year. We all know how that is, being hurt and then getting suspended for a year and a half-ish, a year and some change. But being away from football for so long, it's just hard to adjust. And clearly, a lot of people were expecting him to still go out here and be this 1,200-yard receiver, which is clearly not ready for. But I think if there's any time where you got to get him going, you got to start clicking that with that offense, he's got to be the one you need to get involved. He's an elite player. He is a nasty route runner, and we've seen him be successful before as the number 1 receiver in Atlanta. All right. It was just him and Matt Ryan, and he was out there making plays and without Julio Jones, and it was great to see. And I do still believe he's that type of receiver. He's just got to ease himself back into it. I was very excited when he started the year. First 3 games, was getting hot, was making plays, scoring touchdowns. And I definitely think going forward, if they want to be a better offense, they've got to get him involved. It just opens everything else up for Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, everything underneath. And that is just 3 great 3 great route runners on your team. Christian Kirk, a very underrated, undervalued route runner in the NFL. Calvin Ridley, another elite route runner. He's got top 10 route running potential. We've seen it in the past. Evan Ingram, another finesse, great tight end / receiver, right? That can run routes. But going forward in this next 6-game stretch, you have Cincinnati. You play at home versus Cincinnati. Then you go on the road, play against Cleveland, a tough Cleveland defense. Then you go play at home versus Baltimore, who is atop the AFC. You go play in Tampa Bay. You go play at home versus Carolina, and then you play Tennessee again in Tennessee. Again, That is a very favorable 6 week stretch. Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, Carolina, Tennessee, 4 teams where you're not sure what you're going to get from them. I mean, they're in a very tough situation. Cincinnati clearly with no Joe Burrow. Tampa Bay, they just have not been able to keep that hot streak that they had going on early in the year. Been very inconsistent on the offensive side of the ball. Tennessee, I mean, we know they are 100% rolling with Will Levis going forward, so there's going to be growing pains with that being said going forward. We know the capability of big play, big arm quarterback, but definitely going to be learning curves going forward. And Carolina, who just fired half of their coaching staff of the year. So again, and one of the worst defenses in football. All right. So again, win 4 out of those 6 games. Let's say Jacksonville's going to be favored in at least 5 out of those 6. Not sure if they're going to be favored against Baltimore, obviously. But again, that's looking at a very good 12-win, 11-win team. If they could put those wins together, again, it'll definitely be interesting to see how it's going forward. I couldn't be happier for Jacksonville going forward. But the real talk of the town, it's got to be said, is the person on the other side of that football field on Sunday across from Trevor Lawrence, and we all know he's coming, and he's not even coming, he's already here. It's got to be C.J. Stroud. Yes, they sit 6-5, in 6-5 in the standings. Currently second in the division, 26 for 36, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns. C.J. Stroud, again, another masterclass. And if you didn't watch that game, go watch it again. He set his teammate up. He set his kicker up for a game-tying field goal to force overtime. I was heavily trying to see it go in and get that over at 46 total points. Missed field goal, bounces right off the bottom of the upright, and it's unfortunate to see because C.J. Stroud put together such a great performance. He went out there and really played, again, A-plus football. He just keeps getting it done and putting his team in positions to win. And, I mean, now looking back at it, before we even knew what Houston was capable of, that loss to Atlanta where you let Desmond Ridder go down the field and score the game-winning field goal, I mean, now it's starting to bite you a little bit because that's one extra win you could have had. You could be sitting at 7-4 instead of 6-5 right now. So now you put yourself in a difficult spot, especially losing to Jacksonville, so you split them at one apiece, and now you are second in the division. You've got to continue to go forward, and you got to continue to now start winning football games. If anybody can do it, it's got to be C.J. Stroud. He's bringing the best out of these guys. I mean, Nico Collins, we already know he's out here finally performing. People wanted him to start taking steps in the right direction. He's doing that. Tank Dell, another guy, a rookie, who they said, yo, let's play together. And here they are. Now you see this connection live, and it just looks great. And I couldn't be happier for the Houston Texans organization. This is what they needed. But, I mean, listen, 26:06 time of possession, and they still were in a position to send this game to overtime. Jacksonville had the ball for 10 more minutes, and they still was close to forcing overtime, and he still was about to put up 24 points if the field goal would have went in. I mean, that's just crazy. His completion percentage is not where you would like it to be if you're a quarterback. If you're a head coach and all these little things, you would like to see higher completion throws being made. But his upside, his big play upside is just phenomenal. I mean, he just does the right things and he makes the right plays when they're needed, and he is just made every tough throw you could possibly ask him to make. He goes through his progressions. He's comfortable. He's calm. He's poised. The moment is never too much. He rolls out. He uses his feet. He stops, plants, and throws a dime. I mean, he's just playing great football, and for this Houston Texans fan base, I couldn't be happier. C.J. Stroud has got to be in the top 5 discussion for MVP. I would put him over statistically a lot of these other quarterbacks with more wins. But I do think if C.J. Stroud wants a real chance at winning MVP, you've got to go make the playoffs. I know that's a tough test for a rookie, all right? Again, the expectation is not MVP. So if it doesn't happen this year, it's okay. But, I mean, going forward, listen, 2nd in yards, 7th in passing touchdowns, 3rd in yards per attempt at an 8.4, which is nearly a first down per catch, right? And then 5 INTs on the season. I mean, 3 of those INTs came last week against Arizona. So before that, it was at 2. And he's just playing great football, and he's not turning the ball over. And it's something you love to see from a young QB. But look at the next 6 going forward. Favorable matchups. Once again, you go play at home versus Denver. Denver, another team who just got hot, currently on 5 straight. All right, boom. So that'll be interesting to see. This Denver defense finally playing better. Boom, boom. The New York Jets, another great defense who has lacking quarterback play. All right. that's a good defense. You get to see another test for CJ Stroud to see what he does going forward. As much as New York has been struggling this year, they are still a top-notch secondary. They have the right pieces everywhere, and it's going to be great to see him go play some better defenses to really see what he's made of. And then against Cleveland, again, another opportunity to prove yourself to not only the MVP voters and your team and your fan base and the organization, and let them know where you are. That's 2 top 5, top 10 secondaries in the NFL. Denver, again, don't sleep on them. Patrick Surtain, we know what he's capable of. It's a great corner. It's a great team. This will definitely be interesting going forward. And then you play at home versus Tennessee, and then you go on the road to finish the season off, Indianapolis. Another scrappy team and a divisional team. That's a tough little stretch for this Houston Texans team, a team we don't expect them to be contenders or go make a run in the playoffs, but a very high explosive offense. Obviously, a lot of this relies on the shoulders of CJ Stroud, him being great and him not turning the ball over. Lately, you've started to see them start the ability to run the ball, and which is something he desperately needed. You would like to see Dameon Pierce return to his former self. Clearly, that's not what you're getting from him this year, but I mean, again, this is very, very favorable matchups. Currently, like I said, sitting at 6-5, 10-win team doesn't guarantee you a victory because there could be 3 teams in the AFC North that make it in this playoff run. All right, so you've got to 11 wins is where you're looking at to guarantee you a spot. 10 wins is pushing it. Again, you need 4 wins. You need 5 wins. That's a 6-game stretch. You're gonna have to go out here and just play tough football, man. I mean, again, to ask anybody to win 5 in the next 6 to guarantee a playoff spot, it's a tough job, especially as a young QB. A lot of these games are on the road, so it'll definitely be interesting to see going forward. But again, I would pray, as much as I've been a hater before and in college when I watched him play at Ohio State, I would like nothing more than CJ Stroud to go and prove everyone wrong and go be this dark horse team to go into the playoffs and go make some noise. And dark horse MVP, as a matter of fact. Is Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, is their season over? I've talked about this before. They still had an opportunity to go out there and perform and get wins and put together a storybook ending to make a push for the postseason. But I mean, after this week, I think it's more than solidified. Their playoff hopes are no more. Miami sits alone at the number 1 spot in their division. Again, this team, Josh Allen played a hell of a performance yesterday. 29 for 51, 339, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. That 1 INT, I know a lot of people want to talk about how he's been turnover prone his whole career and this and that. But I mean, listen, throwing the ball 51 times against anybody there's going to be a mistake being made. I thought he had a great game. He was out here making throws, making plays, using his feet, and just moving the ball. 13 for 22 on third down, 40 minutes and 30 seconds time of possession. You had this game for almost 3 quarters, and you can't close it out. I mean, 500 yards of total offense compared to Philadelphia's 330. All right. I mean, you beat him in the total yards battle. You beat him in the time possession battle. Josh Allen outplayed Jalen Hurts. You ran for 173 yards on the ground. All right. And it's just unfortunate to see this. You were winning the game. You had a big lead. They jump in front. You go out here and you put on this drive where you only give Philadelphia a minute to go out there and score a field goal. They go out there. Your defense gets a stop, throws them on there to kick a field goal on 4th down. Goes out there, kick is good, and then next thing you know, it's overtime comes, and then the rest is history. Jalen Hurts does what Jalen Hurts does and closes off the game again, like a clutch player should. But I mean, overall, this was just a dominating performance for Buffalo. I mean, how this game slipped away, I am not sure. Philadelphia played in very uncomfortable territory. They were playing from behind. They didn't control the tempo of the game. What you saw, they relied heavily on the run game again, which we know they want to do. 185 yards on the ground as a team, which is great to see. Jalen Hurts, 3 touchdowns, 206 yards, 1 INT. Devontae Smith, 106 and a touchdown. Got himself in the end zone. This is a great win for Philadelphia going forward. I mean, to come off with a victory like this, they come from behind victory and then go into OT and close it out. It's just they got to be a great feeling. Again, you didn't get the production you were looking for from your quarterback, from your team, from your offense, and your defense still again got torched. Your secondary, got torched. But I mean, this has got to be a good feeling. We've seen time and time again, this team just comes out here and just does what they have to do to win. Everything they do is just to win football games, and they just got the recipe for success. Is it a worry if this offense doesn't get it going 100% in the playoffs and this secondary keeps getting torched like this? It can be. But again, that's why teams like San Francisco and Philadelphia invest so much in the pass rush and their ability and O-lineman and ability to run the ball and control the time of possession. All right, so we know their style of offense. We know what they're sacrificing. But I mean, going forward, you've got to be feeling good. Your next 2 weeks, you're going to play Seattle. Next week you play San Francisco. Excuse me. You got to go on the road. You got to play Dallas. All right. Again, it's a division rivalry. You could see them split a game. If Philadelphia closes out and wins both, that would be a very interesting story to go into Dallas and go do that. Big game next week has got to be San Francisco. They are currently underdogs for that game, and if I had to put money on anybody to be an underdog and at home and go win a football game, it's got to be Philadelphia, because they do it time and time and time again. We've seen this San Francisco team look suspect at times, but right now they are playing how they should be playing. Their defense is flying around, making plays. Their offensive game is there. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, they're running the ball. Brock Purdy's not turning over the ball. He's making the right throws. Their offense is going to be a great, hell of a game next week. And again, if you had to put money on anyone to be successful, it's got to be Jalen Hurts and this Philadelphia team. All right, but for Buffalo, going forward, I mean, listen, it's rough territories, rough waters for this team. You got to go play on the road in Kansas City, in Arrowhead next week. A tough opponent. You got to go play at home versus Dallas. A tough opponent. You got to go play in LA against the Chargers. 50-50, however you want to look at it. Some days they're on, some days they're off. But right now, you got to be favored in that matchup. Then you go play at home versus New England. Then you go play on the road in Miami to end the year off. Again, unless Miami loses the rest of the games of the rest of the year, and you win out, and you can. I don't even know if that'd be enough to win your division, but it's very tough waters going forward. Kansas City, we know how much they've been in Buffalo's head for the last 3 to 4 years, and then Dallas, another team who's got something to prove. They are trying to be put in that contender for real situation, and that's going to be a defense that, again, we've seen it earlier in the season. A team like the New York Jets, who forced pressure on Josh Allen, made him turn the ball over, and won the game. And that's one of those type of defenses. So going forward, it's going to be interesting to see. Again, Buffalo, now Josh Allen has got the chance to just play free. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants. He's going to be able to just make plays that we know Josh Allen wants to try and make. Is it a recipe for success to close out the year? I am not sure. Sean McDermott, you are on hot ice. You're on the lookout. Somebody's looking at you to blame again. But with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope y'all appreciate what I've been putting out. Again, we're going to get this prize pick stuff going again. We're going to start going in the right direction, getting small wins again and again. And I promise you, I'm not over to, I don't lose every single day. I don't lose like that every single day, all right? But I'm going to be posting more on TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that to post my plays and to post play of the days. So with that being said, hope y'all enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know what y'all thought. Peace.